Nobody needs to break you if you break yourself by reacting. Most people don't leak power. They donate it, emotionally, visibly, and loudly. Your emotions aren't just feelings. They are signals. They are maps. They are open source intelligence. And if someone wants to control you, they'll use your reactions like coordinates. They'll watch your anger. They'll watch your fear. They'll mark your need to explain. Then they'll create situations designed to pull those exact triggers. You won't even know it's happening. Because the game isn't played on facts. It's played on perception. And every time you overexpress, you turn perception against yourself. Most people think silence is passive. It's not. Silence is a position. Silence is control. Silence is armor. Because when no one can read you, no one can lead you. They guess. They project. They hope. But they never hold the wheel. Now understand this. The people who control outcomes don't win arguments. They control tempo. They control access. They control response. This isn't about being emotionless. It's about being unreadable. It's about choosing when, how, and if you respond. Because in a world where everyone is yelling their fears, silence becomes power. Strategic silence is not withdrawal. It's a power move. It's emotional dominance. It's weaponized calm. And if you learn to hold that stillness, not just on your face, but in your breath, in your replies, in your decisions, then you don't just survive pressure. You become the pressure. This isn't suppression. This is control. This is your firewall. This is how the untouchable are built. This is emotional warfare. This is strategic invisibility. Now I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I am unreadable. Let me see who's really ready for this. Let's begin. Number 1, you didn't lose power suddenly. You leaked it, line by line, every time you reacted. That's how it always begins. Not with collapse, but with exposure. And it's not always loud. Sometimes it's a sigh, a shift in posture, a quick defense, a need to be understood, a fast reply, a flinch when challenged. And slowly, piece by piece, they map your system. They learn what moves you. They learn what breaks you. You think you're being real, but you're just being readable. You're not giving connection. You're giving coordinates. In emotional warfare, that's fatal. They don't need to overpower you. They just need to extract the right signals. That's how power flips, quietly. When someone knows how to provoke you, they don't need strategy. They just poke and wait. You'll do the rest. That's why silence isn't passivity. It's precision. It's armor. And the first upgrade? Treat your emotion like classified intel. Your face, unreadable. Your tone, flat. Your urgency, gone. You don't owe anyone your real-time emotional GPS. Stop narrating your reaction. Stop defending your feelings. You're not obligated to explain the shift in your tone, or why you didn't reply, or why your eyes went cold. The people who need that information, they've already failed the scan. In strategy, visibility equals vulnerability. The loudest person becomes the easiest target. The most expressive one becomes the easiest to read. The one who defends their dignity the fastest gets baited the easiest. So change the calibration. Your silence isn't absence, it's control. It's composure. It's conscious denial of access. This isn't emotional shutdown, it's emotional encryption. And the first time you use it, you'll notice the room adjusts. They pause longer, they guess more, they tread carefully. Not because you threatened them, but because you stopped offering them a map. Silence is leverage. They think you lost control because you went quiet. But silence isn't absence, it's positioning. The one who controls the frame doesn't need to speak first. They just need to hold. Hold still while others rush to define what's happening. Hold calm while the room scrambles for direction. Hold pace while energy flares around them. You don't need to win the facts, you need to own the frame. Because people don't follow logic, they follow reference points. And in every high-pressure moment, one rule stays true. The calmest one becomes the compass. Everyone else reacts to them. Everyone else explains around them. Everyone else orbits the stillness they refuse to break. That's the game. The one who speaks second owns the truth. The one who delays response sets the timing. The one who asks less gets answered more. When you stay quiet just long enough, people fill the silence with their assumptions. Let them. Those assumptions become their exposure. Their energy becomes your evidence. Their reaction becomes your map. You don't need to push. You just need to reflect. You don't need to compete. You just need to become the standard. A mirror doesn't chase the image. It waits. And in the waiting, it gains control. You are never the echo. You are always the frame. They want you to erupt. Because if you explode, you become predictable. And if you're predictable, you're steerable. Anger doesn't scare them. It informs them. It tells them what you fear. It tells them what you protect. It tells them how to reach the soft center. That's not power. That's exposure. Every triggered reply becomes a breadcrumb, a trail they'll use next time to find the switch. They insult you. You snap. They smirk. You think you defended yourself, but you only proved you can be controlled. Because outrage is never the response. It's the trap. The bait isn't the words. The bait is the timing. They want your instant reaction. They want you loud. They want you unstable. So they can play the calm one. They can play the composed one. They can act like they were just observing while you lost control. So freeze, hold, let it hit, but don't let it move you. Observe the hand behind the words. Notice the setup, not just the surface. And delay. Every second you pause, the frame changes. You're no longer the puppet. You're the scanner. You're no longer triggered. You're tracking. This is how control begins. In stillness, in silence, in the refusal to perform on cue. Hold the line. They say silence is empty, but it's not. It's loaded with pressure, with ambiguity, with power. Most people can't handle silence because silence doesn't confirm. It doesn't reassure. It doesn't explain. And when people don't get a response, they start reaching. They invent meaning. They project fears. They fill the silence with their own noise. That's why silence works. It becomes a mirror they can't escape. And the longer you hold it, the more uncomfortable they become. They start revealing their intent. They start chasing validation. They start over-explaining what they just said. Why? Because your stillness unsettles them. They don't know where you stand. And in a world addicted to affirmation, unreadability becomes status. A calm presence in chaos becomes the new gravity. People orbit that stillness, not because it says more, but because it says nothing. Silence becomes the new signal. Louder than reaction, sharper than defense, stronger than any emotional outburst. So break the reflex to explain. Resist the need to reply. Let the pause speak. Let the gap stretch. Let the tension work for you. Your silence isn't passive. It's a weapon. It's composure in armor. It's clarity refusing to perform. And when your words become rare, your presence becomes rare. They don't remember what you said. They remember what you withheld. They remember how it made them feel. That's the leverage. That's the control. Silence isn't the absence of voice. It's the presence of power. They don't need to outsmart you. They just need to predict you. That's how psychological power is stolen. Not by force, but by pattern recognition. And you help them every time you react the same way. You get nervous, you overtalk. You get challenged, you defend. You get praised, you soften. That's not personality. That's programming. Predictability isn't harmless. It's tactical weakness. It's a roadmap for manipulators. If they know your reactions, they know your levers. If they know your needs, they know your openings. If they can see your rhythm, they can disrupt it. The real danger isn't being seen. It's being mapped. And once they map you, they no longer meet you. They manage you. Approval seeking becomes a magnet for control. Validation chasing becomes an invitation for puppeteering. So burn the script. Interrupt the sequence. Don't laugh when they expect you to. Don't reply just because they pause. Don't flinch when they jab. Make silence your decoy. Make delay your signature. Make ambiguity your home field. The moment they think they've figured you out, shift. Break your rhythm. Confuse the formula. Force them to adapt to you. Because power flows to the unreadable. And unreadable isn't distant, it's strategic. It's emotional privacy, it's psychological control. Predictability isn't routine, it's vulnerability. End it. Fast is not power. Fast is panic. Fast is surrender disguised as urgency. And the world is watching how fast you reply, how fast you explain, how fast you flinch. They read it as weakness. They read it as emotional exposure. When you respond instantly, you lose two things: your position and your perception. Because whoever controls the pace controls the game. They frame the timing. They decide what feels late. They weaponize urgency. And if you follow their tempo, you follow their terms. So stop rushing. Stop replying to tone. Stop adjusting to their speed. Instead, let their energy echo into silence. Let their questions sit. Let their bait dangle. Make slowness your signature. Make calm your first move. Not passivity, calculation. Because when you slow down, the room slows with you. You're no longer reacting. You're measuring. And the moment you do that, you shift from target to threat. They don't know what's coming. They don't know when it's coming. And that uncertainty makes you powerful. Delays aren't avoidance. They are dominance. Every pause becomes a pressure point. Every delay becomes a statement. I respond in my time. I move by my own rhythm. Fast people get managed. Slow people manage outcomes. Never let them set the tempo. The slower you get, the stronger you become. They ask you why you didn't reply, why your tone changed, why you walked away. And you start explaining. You feel the pressure to justify, to defend your timing, to prove you weren't wrong. But that's the trap. The moment you explain, you step down. Because explanations don't reinforce authority, they dissolve it. You shift from being the standard to being on trial. Your words become evidence. Your reasons get measured. Your silence gets pathologized. And the person who wanted control, they get it. Not by overpowering you, but by making you explain yourself. Don't fall for it. You don't need to narrate your decisions. You don't need to earn someone's permission to hold a boundary. You don't need to make your internal logic public, because real power doesn't ask for understanding. It holds its line, quietly. So start replacing explanation with declaration. I'm not available. That doesn't work for me. This is the boundary. No context. No apology. No soft padding. This isn't cold. It's clarity. You're not being mean. You're being unmoved. Because the moment you stop explaining, people adjust. Not always nicely, but always noticeably. They either step up or step back. But they no longer pull you down into justification. You don't owe anyone a story. And when they can't access your reasoning, they start respecting your position. Let them wonder. They praise you, and you shift. They frown, and you explain. That's not awareness. That's programming. The moment your emotional state starts syncing with approval, your silence disappears. You start performing. You start adjusting. You start seeking. But power and performance don't mix. Because if someone can lift your mood with praise, they can drop it with withdrawal. That's emotional puppeteering. They don't need to command you. They just need to react to you. And once they know you'll adjust to stay liked, you've already lost ground. Approval feels warm, but it's a leash. And silence, it only survives when you're willing to let people misunderstand you. When you're okay being the one who doesn't clap back. When you don't rush to correct their opinion. This is the firewall. Detach your internal stability from external signals. A compliment is not a command. A rejection is not a collapse. Your center doesn't move because someone smiled. It doesn't shake because someone ghosted. That's the power shift. They can't steer what doesn't need their signal. And in a world trained to chase applause, stillness becomes defiance. Let silence be your resting state. Let it be your default, not discomfort. Because when your baseline is stillness, people lose their hooks. They don't know where to pull. They don't know where you bend. And that mystery, that's your shield. Approval is noise. You are not here to be clapped for. You are here to be unreadable. You held your reaction, you stayed calm, and they called you cold. That's how emotional control gets misread. People confuse detachment with distance, but they only say that because they can't pull you. They don't feel your energy moving toward them, so they assume you don't care. But this isn't indifference. This is focus. This is restraint. This is not giving away the signal just because someone demanded it. You're not playing cold. You're playing centered. You're not punishing anyone. You're protecting the system. Because once you give in to performance, you abandon principle. They snap, so you comfort. They provoke, so you explain. That's not connection. That's control. And the only way to escape it is to stop proving how much you care. Start anchoring yourself in values, not vibes. Stop clarifying your intentions. Let them feel the space. Let them sit in the silence. They'll say you've changed. They'll say you're cold. Let them. Because if reading you requires a performance, they're not looking for connection. They're looking for access. And once access becomes conditional on expression, power vanishes. So don't give it. Don't explain your peace. Don't defend your stillness. Don't decode your distance. You're not avoiding emotion. You're mastering signal control. Let them guess what you feel. Let them question what you know. You stay locked on what matters. Strategic detachment isn't cold. It's unpullable. They don't start with control. They start with a scan. They test before they target. They drop sarcasm. They cross subtle boundaries. They withhold a reply. They say something just sharp enough to sting. And then they watch. Not for what you say, but for how fast you flinch. Because reactions are data. And most people fail the test without knowing it ever happened. They defend, they explain, they prove, they try to reset comfort. But comfort was never the point. The point was mapping you. Where's your insecurity? Where's your ego? Where's your need to be understood? Once they know that, the real game starts. But it doesn't have to, because when the scan begins, you can reverse it. You can pause. You can watch them instead. You can let the sarcasm hang in the air, untouched. No laugh, no reply, no correction, just observation. Because every test is a projection. It reveals more about their intent than your value. So don't defend your ego. Observe theirs. Let them show their tactics. Let them expose their assumptions. Let them get uncomfortable when you don't take the bait. The test only works if you participate. So don't. Hold the silence. Win the scan. Because in that moment, you're not the one being analyzed. You're the one collecting data. This is how you flip the frame, quietly. They test everyone, but only the unreadable pass. Most emotional battles aren't won. They're outlasted. The one who stays still longest wins. Because most pressure isn't power, it's noise that demands reaction, noise that disguises desperation, noise that wants to break your rhythm. But your edge isn't in fighting back. It's in not flinching. When someone pressures you for a decision, pause. When they demand urgency, breathe. When they flood you with energy, drain it in silence. Why? Because speed is their tool. If they can rush you, they can reframe you. If they can make you act fast, they can steer you. So you wait, not forever, but long enough to regain clarity. You don't deny the emotion, you deny it access. You let the wave rise. But you don't surf it, you watch it. That's the shift. You go from participant to observer, from target to anchor. Because when they see you won't move, their pressure folds back on them. The silence gets heavy, the urgency turns awkward. The manipulation loses its edge. This isn't passivity. It's tactical stillness. It's the difference between reacting and responding. And the more you delay, the more control consolidates. You are training your nervous system to wait. You are building emotional endurance. You are choosing timing over tension. So next time the noise rises, you don't rise with it. You let it echo. You let it pass. Because patience isn't delay. It's dominance in disguise. They yell. You raise your voice. They speed up. You start talking faster. They jab. You jab back. And just like that, you're no longer strategic. You're synchronized. You've entered their system. Because when you respond to energy, you abandon control. Matching intensity isn't strength. It's surrender. They bring chaos, and you match it. Now they own the rhythm. Now they've set the tone. Now they're driving the frame. And you're just reacting. This is how you get pulled. Not by logic, by tempo, by volume, by heat. That's why your first rule is this: never mirror energy. Mirror strategy. Let their tone rise. Let their gestures sharpen. Let their chaos build. You stay still. You stay quiet. You stay focused on the actual mechanism, not the performance. Because when you don't match, they feel alone in their storm. Their escalation starts to echo. Their moves start to feel exposed. They begin to lose the crowd. You didn't overpower them. You outweighted their fire. You de-escalated the room by refusing to fuel it. That's the shift. You move from responsive to surgical. You don't match volume. You match structure. You don't ride adrenaline. You ride awareness. Because intensity fades fast, but composure compounds. Let their energy reveal their plan. Let your silence reveal your control. You're not here to spar. You're here to win without moving. The less they know, the less they can touch. And if they can't read you, they can't reach you. That's the truth most people miss. Power isn't always loud. It's hidden. And survival doesn't belong to the strongest. It belongs to the unreadable. Because in a world built on triggers, emotional invisibility becomes immunity. They try to compliment you, nothing moves. They try to insult you, stillness. They try to provoke, silence. Now they're confused. Now they're exposed. Because unreadable people don't just protect themselves. They reverse the scan. In negotiation, the quietest one often wins. Why? Because terms shift based on emotion. And if you don't leak emotional data, they negotiate in the dark. That's not deception. That's defense. Emotional encryption isn't cruelty. It's clarity. You're not suppressing what you feel. You're deciding who gets access. You don't owe transparency to pressure. You don't owe clarity to chaos. And silence, it's not retreat. It's security. It's knowing your system is locked. No reaction on your face. No urgency in your voice. No confirmation in your eyes. That's power they can't decode. And the more they guess, the more they reveal. Because unreadability is a mirror. It makes people show their assumptions. It makes people reach too far. And in that overreach, they fall. So don't just respond less, leak less, reveal less. Let every signal be intentional. Let stillness be your shield. Emotional invisibility isn't emptiness. It's how warriors survive in plain sight. When you go silent, something bigger than noise disappears. Access. Because it's not just your words they were feeding on. It was your availability, your energy, your explanations, your emotional presence. And the moment you stop reacting, they feel it. Not just as resistance, but as disconnection. They don't just lose control over the situation, they lose entry to your system. Because silence doesn't just block reaction, it repositions you. It moves you out of reach. Now they can't locate you, they can't read you, they can't calibrate their behavior off your responses, and suddenly they have no idea what works anymore. The old strategies fail, the old dynamics collapse, because silence breaks the pattern. It creates a vacuum. And most people don't know how to survive in that space. They either escalate, louder, messier, faster, or they back off entirely. And both are wins. Because silence isn't just peace, it's filtration. It reveals who was attached to your noise, not your presence. So build your response barriers, not to push people away, but to expose who only came close to manage you. Let them wonder why you didn't reply. Let them sit with the message that never came. Let them adjust to a version of you they can't control. This isn't passive. This is active boundary setting through absence. Your silence is the door. And it closes access without announcement, without drama. It simply ends what was never earned. And the people who depended on your reactions, they fade. This is the point of no return. They used to know how to reach you. They'd say something sharp. They'd raise their tone. They'd pull silence out of you like a string. And you'd give them everything. Your energy, your attention, your explanation. Now they feel nothing. Now their words hit a wall. Now their tone echoes in the room alone. Because you've disconnected the wires. You've broken the system. And you've reprogrammed the terms. Power doesn't need to prove. It doesn't need to explain. It doesn't even need to respond. It just needs to hold still while the world exposes itself. You've learned something most never do. That stillness is structure. That silence is a sword. And that the less you give, the more they reveal. Because when you stop reacting, they stop recognizing you. You become unreadable. And unreadable means untouchable. They'll say you've changed. They'll say you've gone cold. They'll say you've shut down. But the truth is, you just stopped offering access. You stopped being the easy one. You stopped being the emotional supplier. And now, the pressure is on them. They can't predict you. They can't decode you. They can't manage you. You're no longer on display. You're no longer under review. You're no longer explainable. And that's exactly where the shift begins. This isn't self-protection. This is a position. This is a structure. This is authority through absence. So now, make it real. Make the shift visible. Make the silence louder than their noise. If this reframed your view of power, if this exposed what was keeping you accessible, you already know what to do. Share, subscribe, comment this. I move without reaction. And tell me, which chapter unlocked the silence for you? Now go prove it.